Good morning, everybody. Just making sure the audio is good. Give an audio check on the Twitter page or in the comment section. Good morning, Anthony. How are you doing? Fantastic. Great. Let's just give them one more minute before we start it up. By the way, today we're looking at the core PCE price index. That's 830. And then we have a medium impact on Chicago PMI at 945. And we have another medium folder at the 10 a.m. revised UOM sentiments, consumer sentiments. I'm expecting volatility around the 9:30 opening, and then if nothing comes out of that one, I'm turning my focus to the 9:50 to 10:10 macro. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and start with the analysis over here on the daily chart. So I'm turning my attention to this as a inversion. We're above that right now. And then I'm looking at this wick. We can move it down to a 4-hour chart. I'm looking at this remaining portion of this fair value gap. To get filled in. Let's just change the color of this. Make that inversion something a bit lighter to the eyes. We also have this fair value gap up here. Not noting that one right now. And then we also have another fair value gap right here. And we just traded into that one now. Order block. Change the color of that. Just make it orange. And let's do this fair value gap. Let's go for a red. Just make that red. And let's move it on into a 15. All right, so this is what I'm looking at currently here. Its price is really range bound here. There's not much to see yet. Not much to see yet on the day. We traded into this. Let's just bring this in. This daily. Just move that to the top. That daily inversion. We traded into that daily inversion at 4:15 this morning. We rallied away from that. See, we left equal highs and some equal highs above here. So that sets the tone for me that I want to see bullish price action here. Just looking at this, we also have this 15-minute fair value gap over here. You can note that if you want. I'm not going to note that just for the sake of keeping the chart a little bit cleaner. If you're looking at brokers, it really depends on, if you want to be trading with prop firms or if you're going to open up a live account, and it depends on what type of market you're going to be looking at trading to. If you're going to be trading futures, then a couple of good ones would be, as an example, would be Iron Beam. Iron Beam's a good one. You can look at Ninja. They've got a couple of good brokers associated with them as well. And if you're going to do prop firms, then I'm not exactly sure because I'm honestly not in the prop firm space. So, yeah, it depends on what you want to do. But it's good to do some research on the topic and just see what other traders in the industry is recommending. I know Tanya, she's using a pretty good broker. You guys can look at Patrick. I think they recommend a pretty good prop firm if you're interested in looking at going the prop firm route. They have a pretty good recommendation. Let's just annotate these relative equal highs. I'm just going to generally place it above here. Let's just place it and see if I can get it. There we go. Because I am looking at both of these. Equal highs. Let's just pull this. Now let's leave it there. Looking at that, change this color again. Let's leave that blue. Yeah, that's going to be, yeah, those are relative equal highs as well. Let's make these guys just doing purple because we just honestly, we've got all the colors going over here now. So these are the general levels that I'm looking for this morning on NASDAQ, you could say. Just looking at US tech. It's relatively the same thing, honestly. I'm just looking at it like this because I'm not, I don't pay the TradingView subscription, so that's why I'm just looking at this so we can get the live data. Otherwise, we have delayed data, so I'm looking at this for live data. So I'm expecting bullish price action. We can also note this as an order block. That would be an order block. That's something that I would look for as well. Let's go with a, I don't want to do yellow. I just don't like the yellow. Let's just do black. We haven't done black. There we go. Let's put this text at the bottom to just clean it up a little bit. At the bottom. There we go. So this is quite range bound since 5 a.m. this morning. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm using Eastern Standard Time. So we're all on the same page. And if we jump into the 1 minute time frame, you can see that this is it's been range bound this morning. So personally, I wouldn't be touching anything range bound at 8:30 if it doesn't clean up. And let's say, well, I'm expecting to be bullish, so I want to see higher prices. So I would like to see a manipulation below these lows, and then perhaps a move higher and a breaker block or a fair value gap that I can go long in. That would be something that would be ideal. By the way, I forgot to mention over here that this order block, we have a low high, lower low. So that would, this up candle would also be a breaker block at the same time. So that would be an order block and a breaker block level. So that's a nice level to take a look at. I do want to look at the 5 minute. See that? We got that same low, high, lower, low. So we got that same candle. This is the highest candle in this, from this low to this high. This would be the highest candle body close. So that would also classify as the breaker point. So that will be a 5 minute breaker block as well, which I'm not going to note because we already have this 15. So we're waiting for the 8:30. We're waiting for 8:30 open to see what price is gonna do. As it stands right now, this structure does not interest me at all. I would have preferred if we had some. If we look at this structure down here, then I would have liked to see something like this, where we traded into a higher time frame level, and then I would have wanted at 8:30. Then I would have wanted to see price rally up, come back into that, which this is a breaker low high, lower low breaker, overlapping with a inversion, extend it through. This would be the entry. This area. I would like to have a structure in place. So I would like to see this structure in place. It's clean. We took liquidity here, took liquidity there. Higher time frame level. Preferably, that's what I would have wanted to see here. But we have this messy structure. So this is just something that I wouldn't touch. And the other thing, if we jump into a DXY chart real quick, let's go to a 15. And see that it's dropped down this morning, which that is ideal. That's what I want to see. I'm expecting lower prices. We have these equal lows. We have this old low inversion. So I would like to see dollar rally down lower because that's going to give me fuel in the fire for NAS to want to see higher prices. So I want to see this tank. It's sitting inside of this 15 fair value gap right now. And notice we closed right inside of that. So that's going to tank. So I want to see this continue dropping down. Looking at, yeah, this would be ES. ES is doing the same thing. We have this consolidation. See that? You can see how this is all gappy and all messy price action. Not clean. So I wouldn't touch this. I wouldn't bother touching this. Just see DXY on a 1 minute. See that? It's got this nice high. I talked about this where I want to see it trade into a higher time frame level. So let's say this 15-minute fair value gap. And then I'm targeting this low. If I go down into a 1 minute, see that? We traded into the higher time frame structure. Then I usually like to see it trade away from that. And look at the propulsion here. This is where time has to come in. So this should be, you know, in an ideal scenario, this would be, as an example, 8:30. And then price trades down. And it trades back into a breaker block or a fair value gap. In this case, we traded the fair value gap and it's rallied down lower. But time of day is not in alignment with that idea. But that is the example of what I would want to see. So see how we traded above this equal high. So we cleared out this high now. I ideally would have wanted to see it trade down through these lows and then give me a structure to go long in. We're just sitting waiting for that 8:30 a.m. to see what they give us to work with. Cycling timeframes here. This would also classify as this purple line, this 50-minute equal high. This would also classify as a 4-hour old high that we're trading. I'm referring to this level here. This would also classify as a 4-hour. It's just good to have things noted so that you know if it trades through certain levels, you know what's going on. I'm just looking through the charts. I'm just looking at the averages here, which of course those you guys are not able to see those, but you can look at those on your own system. So dollar index is still dropping down lower, which I want to see dollar dropping down lower to give me higher prices in my crosses. I'm looking at the Dow. Dow has been really messy the last couple of days. It's been sitting in a range, honestly. You go look at a 15-minute chart, on the Dow and you look at the 27th, you see we had a high, like a relative equal high on your chart on the 27th. And we had a low, and we've just sat inside that. We just sat sideways inside of that price action. It did have a cleaner structure on the 1 minute. Way cleaner structure than what we have on the NAS. But nothing yet that excites me. Golden Zone, I'm good. How are you doing? Nothing exciting yet. We did finally trade through these highs now. They just didn't do that play like I wanted them to do that play though. I would have preferred something like this to happen around the 8:30 opening. But first taking the lows and then giving us a possible setup to go long. Golden Zone, you can go ahead and ask your question. Let's just cycle through. So I was talking about this structure, how this is cleaner to me on the Dow because we had this low and we traded through this. So this low, high, lower, low, this could be a potential breaker block scenario. But by the way, I don't trade Dow. I don't trade that. I just look at this for a confluence with the rest of my averages. And on a 15, I was talking about this high, this on Thursday, the 27th at 115, and this low at 230. We're inside of this range. See how we traded up higher? We filled in this fair value gap. We filled that in and we just sat sideways. So there's nothing in here that excites me yet. So 820, this is usually where I would start looking for a potential setup. Golden zone. CFDs and NASDAQ charts are not the same. I'm talking about PD arrays, highs and lows. What do we do if we have a NASDAQ chart or broker? What I do is I usually note those levels on my broker, which, by the way, if you guys are wondering, I do have I've got an account with Ironbeam, and I'm just using the platform that they offer, which they do give you live data feeds on the ES, the NQ, and I believe the Dow. But I'm just looking at the ES and the NAS on their platform, but I'm not doing my annotations on their platform just because it's not as flexible as the trading view, which with trading view it's really simple and easy to draw your lines and annotate your lines and draw your rectangles and annotate your rectangles. So basically giving objects descriptions. So usually what I do is when I sit down and I annotate my levels, I usually have a different screen which I'm just looking at the dollar index, and I've got the three averages open, which I do have them analyzed, and I just keep them on a 15-minute just so I can get a general idea of what they are doing and how they are trading at the levels. But what I do on my Ironbeam platform is I just go through that and I just work from a 15, a 5, and a 1 minute. I just annotate the levels so that I've got those levels on that platform. If, for instance, we have traded into a level of importance, then I usually just note that on that platform as well. For instance, if we traded into a 1 hour fair value gap, then I would just go through and I would just note that and keep it on there for reference. Speaking of that, by the way, we did have this 1 hour. So let's note that. Yeah, that would be a fair value gap. Let's just make this lower one a darker shade to avoid confusion there. And put this one at the bottom. Yeah, we do have this 1 hour fair value gap. I just noticed that on my other monitor here. So we were trading inside of this, but this to me is sideways. And like I mentioned, I would have wanted to see it go below this, take these guys out, and then go higher like it did now. We do have this fair value gap on here now. So let's look at this. Let's see if that holds price. 4 hour fair value gap. Let's see here. I'm looking at this middle line. See if it wants to keep on rallying higher or if it wants to trade down lower at the 8:30 open. We do have a fair value gap over here, above here. That is another potential target that we could be looking at. Annotate this. $8:29. So we have 1 minute before we get that news release, by the way. So let's look at this fair value gap. And I'm not in this trade. But let's just see. Hold on, let me just adjust this. This is way too bright. That's a bit better. Let's look at this as an example. So this is something else I don't like about this position. Okay, look, there we go. See that? Spike down. That's the news release now. Let's just see what they do over here. As I was saying, what I don't like about this particular, let's just say trading idea, using this as an example, is the fact that we have this fair value gap. We have this fair value gap here. And there is no higher time frame nearby level below us. So what I mean is, if I take a fib and I pull a fib from this low, and I was targeting consequent encroachment of this, or mean threshold of this, right? Let's pull this a bit closer. I was targeting that. If we look at the fib, let's see if I have a template of this. Fib extensions. Well, it does represent the idea that I want to bring to your attention. Is if we take this low up to where I would have targeted this, right? 50%. 50% is over here. So we are above 50%. So unless we were to trade below that, get into this relevant area, which would then be close to this, then that would be a better scenario. This to me is a scenario where I would just not take that. Just because we are above the 50%. And the other thing, if you look at where we would have taken profits and where the stop would have been, where if you took this, then we have one PD array, we have this 4-hour fair value gap low plus this fair value gap. So you're going to have to place the stop at least down there at this fair value gap down here. And that is a massive stop for this tiny little trade. So I wouldn't take that. It needs to be a good risk to reward for me to engage in the position. And then the other thing is that we need to have underlying factors that support that trading idea. So that's how you filter your trades out. And you look at which ones you do want to take and which ones you want to avoid trading. Now see how we wicked through this, but we respected this fair value gap. So these are 1 minute fair value gaps. So I'm not going to note them. So this is just a back and forth zigzag. Nothing that excites me, nothing that I would want to be involved in. We had the range. What did they do? They took price higher very quickly, fast, big candles. So everybody got involved long. So they induced people to take a long position. Then what they did, they dumped it below this low. People had some sell stops below there, sell stops below here, sell stops below this low. If you took an entry here, you would place the stop there. Okay, that's retail minded thinking, where they would place the stop here below this low. They're in the position and it dumps it down. It stops them out. The other thing that they're doing is they're dumping it down. So what are they doing? They are basically inducing shorts. So some people are seeing this thing drop down and they think it's going to keep on going down below these lows. So they're inducing short positions. See that? So just, you got to keep your mindset thinking. You got to have that retail mindset in the back of your mind, and you got to think like, what are the retail traders doing when they see this price action? It's good to keep that in the back of your mind. Let's just take a look at the process. See how we went below these equal lows? See that? Way too clean. We went below those. Now I wanted to see price action trade below these lows on the NAS before we rallied up higher. And it did not do that. Look at the Dow. See, Dow is just, it's consolidating. It's not doing much at all. Rallied up, consolidated, both sides of the border cleared. We had these equal highs. These equal highs, they got cleared. Equal lows cleared. So with all these equal highs and equal lows, it's a sign of a market that is low probability. That's your number one thing for a low probability marketplace. So that means you sit on your hands and you do not engage price action. Let's glance at the dollar index. Dollar index has probably been the cleanest one, the cleanest chart this morning. And yesterday, dollar was just pushing higher with the indices. It was just pushing up higher. And we were going higher on indices, and I wanted to see dollar lower, and it just did not cooperate. And now this morning, dollar is dumping, but indices are sitting. They were sitting in this consolidation. Now we can clearly see that the NAS is the leader here. because US 500 isn't doing much, and it's not clean. Look at how messy that is. See, this is the cleanest chart of the lot. So now I want to see them trade these lows. That's gonna be the next move. They're gonna clean this up. It's way too clean still. It's way too clean. All the money is on the table. So keep your focus on those. Sell stops. See that? We traded into this inversion. Let's see if that can send price down lower. We also traded into 4-hour fair value gap. This 15-minute equal high and 4-hour old, those become irrelevant now. We can just take them off. They have been cleared. So they don't really matter anymore. Let's see if that idea stays in place. And by the way, if I see a scenario like this, and in this case where I want to see bullish price action, so I'm looking for longs. And by the way, if you were not aware, then the seasonal tendency for the last week of June, I'm jumping ahead over here. We expect that to be on the futures markets. We expect that to be a bullish week. Now you can go and look at those. You should be able to find those seasonal tendencies on Google. You can just Google them, and there's a site that comes up. And I'll look at that now in a moment. I'll just look at that and I'll give you the name of the site, and you guys can find those over there. But so if that expectation, that was my expectation coming into this week, that I wanted to see that come to fruition where we get that bullish run higher. By the way, I didn't annotate that, but you would be looking at something like this. Inversion. I wouldn't say this is a breaker block with high, low, higher. It's really messy. I don't like that. I just don't like that. We do have a valid order block now. The stop would have to be above here. But I will go look at that and I will give that through to you guys, so you guys can go and search the site and you can find them. But I'm sure you can find them somewhere if you just look hard enough, because they are readily available on the internet. I believe ICT, I believe he shared some of them somewhere. I believe it was in his live streams, on one of his mentorships. I think it was on, I don't remember if it was on the 2020, or I don't remember, but I know that if you don't find them, you will be able to find them somewhere on the internet. You just gotta go look on Telegram, you will find them somewhere. It's just good to have them. And for dollar index, we should be seeing for the last week of June some bearish price action. So that was my initial idea coming into the week. If I can get price action to show me signs that on a higher time frame that it wants to be bullish with the indices and dollar wanting to tank, then that is really high probability backing me up in my trading. Let me just change this again and see if I need to remember to save this as a template. template. Save as. Mm, normal, I guess. The colors, why did the colors not stay like this though? But anyway, that's a higher probability setup because you had the inversion, you had the 4-hour fair value gap, consequent encroachment. We traded into the consequent encroachment. We inverted this inversion. We traded into that. We rejected it, and we had clear equal lows below us. So that is a nice idea there. Would I take this personally? No, I would not. Just specifically because I would be looking for longs in futures. That is how I came into this idea this morning. So that is the idea that I would like to see. Now, if we had this exact setup and we inverted this whole setup and we could have gone long on that, then absolutely that was the idea that I was looking for this morning coming in. They did, however, decide to take the longs first before they took out the short side. So we took out these equal lows and also these ones down here, okay? Those sell stops. So now the board is, we still have these ones below here if they want to go down there. We're back inside of this structure. We can extend those. I'm going to remove this 15 equal high. We're not looking at that anymore. We are also inside of this daily inversion. Scrunch it up. Bring that over. Four-hour fair value gap. By the way, this red line is that 4-hour fair value gap. We'll clean up the chart in a second. Let's just bring all these levels over so we can be aware of them. I do just want to get the consequent encroachment of this 4-hour fair value gap. I want to have that noted. Just going to note that over here. I think that is an important level to have on the charts. Auto. Okay, good. Let's zoom in a little bit. So as an example, if you were in this position, then this is really messy. We're just going to have to suck it up for now. Because all these levels are needed on the chart over here. Oh yeah, these are these equal lows. We still have those ones now left. Those ones are all cleared. So we would be looking at this. Gonna pull it to the side, move this back a little bit. Well, let's just extend that too, though. That is quite important, this 1-hour order block. We're inside of this inversion, or this fair value gap, which this would now become a inversion, by the way, because we're traded through that again. So that would be, we would look at this to see if it possibly wants to become an inversion. Let's put this middle line on. So if you took a profit at this low, then obviously you would take another profit at this one here. That is how I would manage that position per se. I would be looking at taking a partial. That is if you can, though. If you're just starting out and you're trading like one micro contract, then obviously you're not going to be able to take a partial. Then you're just going to close the whole position. You just take what you make and you take that home. And that is never a bad thing, by the way. If you're just starting out, it's a really good habit to pay yourself. When you take that trade and the trade pans out, don't keep holding on to that trade. When the target gets hit, then you pay yourself, even if it's not a big amount. You still traded your plan and your plan came to fruition, so that is a win. That's something that you put in your journal and you build your confidence with those small little wins until eventually you can start trading multiple little micros until you eventually work your way up to one mini. To one contract. And then, I mean, that is a big step in itself. Working your way up from micros to minis. You can probably do like 10 micros would be one mini. So you would be doing multiple micros before you get to one mini. And then you build that up again slowly, though, because one mini does give you a really big push, a really big dollar number if you're switching from the micros. It's probably just a better idea to just do your micros, because at least then you can take a partial. If you're going to do one mini, then you're going to have to close that mini as soon as it gets to that target. You're going to have to close the whole position, though. All right. So let's see if this still has some breath left in it. We have a fair value gap and a volume imbalance. So look to see if that wants to push price to this consequent encroachment level. We have these sell stops here. We should be able to reach this consequent encroachment level. And at this point, the stop should be at with commissions and costs covered. We have an order block there. Extend that through. See if that wants to hold it. Let's just quickly look at the dollar. You see dollar came back into this fair value gap. I was looking at this fair value gap area. This was what I would have, wanted to see it trade through that and then come back into this before we ran down lower, though. So dollar is trading down lower. Now, this is where the problem comes in, because we have indices trading down lower as well. By the way, there we go. That would be consequent encroachment hit. Can I move this? Oh, just about be the consequent. That would be close enough. We're below those sell stops. That's an area where you would take a partial. Now this setup is a TGIF play. I would see this as a TGIF because I was looking for bullish prices all week, and I mean, it's the end of the week. So we could expect a reversal back into the weekly range with this as well. So this is a beautiful TGIF play, although this was not what I was looking for this morning. So perhaps if you were looking for a short, then this is a beautiful setup. We came into this 4-hour fair value gap, consequent encroachment, beautiful impulse move down. We didn't get a fair value gap in here, but this is essentially just a manipulation wick. So if you ignore this wick, essentially, then that would be a nice fair value gap. But we were looking at this inversion though, which is a beautiful clear level to look at. And then we had this nice rejection trading into that and moving away from that. So that's a beautiful idea there. Let's just glance over the other indices. See, Dow it's still a mess. This is just still stuck in a range. It's still stuck inside this range. Just not doing anything. It's just stuck inside the range. And dollar is still trading lower now. Not yet range bound. I wouldn't say this is going range bound. But I don't want to see dollar trading down lower and the NAS trading down lower. I don't like that idea. And that's kind of been the theme this week, where dollar was just trading higher. And we had the NAS just trading higher with that as well, which that does knock probabilities off quite a bit. So there is the 4-hour fair value gap, consequent encroachment. Now keep note that we are inside of a daily inversion as well. Let me see if I got those middle lines on that. Let's just go up higher and let me just put those quadrants on this thing. Let's get quadrants on here. We could use those as targets. Let me just edit the fib. Let's add a 0 point. I just want a 75%. And then I just want a 25% on there. Let's see. Should be a green and a purple level. Is it gonna be? Where is this thing giving those things to me? Not what I want to see. Okay. 0.75, 0. There we go. 0.25, there we go. I do want to note these levels because they would be salient to. We would be looking at these levels. Consequent encroachment is noted. I'm not going to note the lower portion of this for now because unless we really get heavy, I don't see the need to note that yet. So this would now be this one. That would be the 75% of the daily inversion. And let's make this making it purple so it coincides with this, and I'm going to extend it out. So we can get rid of this. We wouldn't get rid of that just yet. But if you were in that position, I mean, this is a beautiful run, a run through for that. You're almost getting a 5-1 in that position. I mean, that's a beautiful run. So if I was in a trading idea and I had like a 5-1, which you can see this is about 50.186 or so. That is a nice chunk to take home and call it a day. So let's get rid of that. Let's clean things up a bit. This was that 4-hour fair value gap. Just clean these levels up a little bit so we know what is salient over here. Get rid of these. So this is still part of this 4-hour fair value gap. And we can just move these back. So all stops are taken. So we're inside of this 4-hour fair value gap. And we're in the lower quadrant of this. Let's see if this fair value gap in here still supports lower prices. We can get rid of these now just to clean things up. Let's leave that. So if they do want to rally down lower, we still have 75% of this daily inversion, and we have consequent encroachment. Let's just look at a 15. Coupled with that, we also have a 15 minute fair value gap. Let's change this one to orange so that it just stands out a bit. And then we have this low down here as well. If we do get close to that, we do still have dollar. Okay, well, dollar is stagnant right now. Let's see how dollar holds this level. Holds this level as well as this fair value gap in that one. So that would be a balanced price range. Let's just see how that holds price if dollar wants to start trading higher. $9 a.m. We have 9:45 Chicago PMI, which is a medium folder. And then we also have 10 a.m. revised UOM consumer sentiment, which that is a medium impact. So I'm looking at the 9:30 as well as the 9:50. And we will see what those bring to light. But with the move that we had now, I wouldn't want to expect anything big at the 9:30. I would want to see something maybe at the 9:50. We'll have to see though. We'll just have to see. 9:30 could still give us a reversal on this, just because it is that PCE price index. By the way, I don't care what specific news event that it is. It could be whatever, but the big ones that we look at are CPI, NFP, PMI, and FOMC. Those are the big smoking guns you got to be careful with. Other than that, We just use that as the volatility to get us involved in a move. I'm just glancing over the indices, and I'm just glancing over at my other monitor so I can just see what dollar is doing, and just having a quick look over here at what I am seeing as far over here. Nothing interesting yet. Nothing majorly interesting though. We didn't get that move that I wanted to see with prices going down lower, which I would have wanted to see that, but we did not get that. And that would have been a solid setup to go long, but it is Friday though. So we are still trading now lower. Order block, extend that through. We traded into that. It's still sending price lower, so that we are still bearish. So this is just how you would be managing a trade if you were inside of a trade. See, this is all high resistance liquidity run because we are up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is because we have dollar index now sitting sideways. And it's traded now lower, and it's sitting sideways. If we are to get low resistance liquidity runs, then dollar index needs to start rallying higher. Then we will see low resistance liquidity runs. But I mean, for the initial move for that, if you took that short and it rallied through down, that's a nice push down lower. It gets away from your entry and you could take a partial. Clearing these lows, that gives you partials. So if I was coming in this morning and I was hunting shorts, it's Friday, I was hunting shorts and I was looking for a TGIF, then I would possibly have been looking at this 4-hour fair value gap to give me something in the market. And then from there, I would look to take a short down to these equal lows. That was the mindset that I would have used if I was looking for that. Let's just extend this through. So there you go. Finally, it becomes clear. So we now have traded the low of this 4-hour fair value gap. Another order block. I like the fact how this order block, this candle, it traded up into this order block. There's a fair value gap. It closed below that low of let's just zoom this in so everybody can see this. So this was the order block. We had a fair value gap. See how it closed below that fair value gap? And how it traded right at this 4-hour fair value gap low. That is a nice confluence to see that it's still rejecting and still going to go lower. $9.07. Okay, what we're going to do, I think let's take a at 9:10, we take a 10-minute break until 9:20, and then we can see what what is going on. So let's take a quick little break till 9:20. And we are back. Let's cycle through. The XY is still sitting inside of this balanced price range. Tapped into it and cleared the high. Still sitting sideways. US 500 still following along. US 30 finally starting to drop. What was interesting to me, we can clean this up a little bit, is how NAS came up and it traded into this consequent encroachment and traded down lower. Still have an equal low here. And this fair value gap would now be a inversion level. It would have been, but we're still treating it to look for shorts on this level. Pull these through. I'm noting this 15-minute fair value gap. I'm looking at these levels. See if price trades into these. I want to see dollar trade back down into this equal low. So these equal lows to me look clear. So I would like to see dollar trade lower from this area, because we also have this 15-minute fair value gap. And we had that 15-minute order block overlapping with this balanced price range here, which is what we see here. I like the fact that we traded into this 15-minute fair value gap low. I want to now see dollar go to this equal low. On NAS, we traded into this 15-minute fair value gap. So I want to see from here, can we go up to this high? Can we clear these equal highs? My focus is on those now. Let's get rid of this order block. Let's see how this holds though, if we can trade through this fair value gap. I want to see price get above this. Look at the 5. We also have all of this still open, this fair value gap as well as this one. Let's see though. Let's see what they want to do in here first. It's almost 9:30. We're only getting that next medium folder at about 9:45. Let's see though. Dollar does need to be in line with this idea though, for us to get that push up higher in futures. If it's not in line with this idea, then we probably won't see this push and follow through to these lows. I just want to annotate this. We're back in this level again with 1, 2. This might be the third push higher before we could see this drop down lower. Let's also get the consequent encroachment. Let's get that. Let's watch. Let's see how this reacts here. 9:30, there's nothing yet. Just gotta be patient. It's holding. I like how it's holding this 15-minute fair value gap still. Just need to be patient. We also do have a 1-hour order block over here, which I think I'm going to take note of this. 1-hour order block. And did we trade into this? Not yet. I just want to check if we did trade into that one on. I'm just giving a glance at my broker's data feed. Just want to see if it did trade that or not. I want to miss that 9:30 opening. Just gonna be real quick. Okay, on my live feed, we did trade into that 1-hour order block, and I'm just not going to be able to show that one, that screen now. But we did trade into that. Okay, so for a 9:30 opening, that is not volatile. It's not anything unexpected. I would say there's nothing unexpected about this yet. There's no setup. There's nothing in play for me to key off. The only thing here would be this fair value gap in line with this 15-minute fair value gap, that 1-minute fair value gap, and that is still holding price pushing lower. Dollar is pushing higher now. This is beautiful. Beautiful how it traded into that and dropped. This reached down lower as well. So this would be the daily inversion 75%. That would be this target now being hit. So this is a massive rundown for a Friday. Massive rundown here. We still have that consequent encroachment in play as well. That might be a bit far-fetched though, but let's see what it does. It could still get down there if it keeps on pushing down lower. Dollar is still inside of this area, but still slightly pushing higher. So it should start to get this stagnating a bit. These buy stops over here, I'm looking at those, but we did not hold this level. And we also had these equal lows though. So that's a 50-50% scenario. Just gotta sit and wait. I did mention the stream is ending at 9:40, I believe. But let's see how this looks at 9:35. And we might continue until the 10:10 macro. We might continue tape reading until then. If something does come up. If nothing comes up, then we will call it a day. But let's see what they give us. You gotta remain patient. There's no rushing for any buttons in this. So see, we traded below this 1 hour order block. We're still sitting inside of it. So we're inside of that level. We're sitting inside of it. We're also inside of this 15-minute fair value gap. Holding the low really nicely still. Put it into that fair value gap now. Let's see if that gives us a follow through down lower. Let's see if that follows through and trades down lower. We're looking at this consequent encroachment level. We also have a wick. Let's see if I got that wick over here. Do I have that wick? -15-minute time frame. Here we go. There's that wick. I'm watching this wick as well. I'm keeping my eyes on that as well. We could just leave that one blue. If we do want to keep on pushing down lower, then this wick lines up really neatly with consequent encroachment of daily inversion. Nice level to look at. Since we traded these stops down here, we still have some relative equal highs in here. So I'm not completely trashing the idea. I'm just looking what they are doing. We're still pushing higher on dollar. So as long as we keep on pushing higher on dollar, then I'm not seeing futures go up higher. At least not going up higher clean. US 500 is trading higher though. So indices are out of sync. Indices are okay, well, they're not out of sync. We're still okay. We're still in sync. But look at this run though. Wow. Look at that. US 30 was jumped up higher. US 500 jumped up higher. NAS is still is still the weaker one here now. Trade back into that order block. This might be the start of a rally higher. Let's see what dollar is doing. Dollar is still tanking. That's good. It seems like US 500 is just leading over here. It's really strong, pushing up higher. Same thing with Dow. So NAS, it looks like NAS would be the sixth sister, the one to catch up on those. And then we're targeting these highs. Look at these levels. We want to now see them act as support to frame that position. There would have to be something here to give us an entry for that. Nothing yet though. But I'm just looking at this, framing this out. So US 500 is definitely leading over here with Dow and US Tech following, and dollar is following in. Let's see if it wants to give a potential entry into this. I don't think so though. I think we're going to hit this, run straight up into this buy stop without any potential entry into this. And that just happens sometimes though. We do sometimes just run up without any entry. See, I wouldn't take this as an entry. It's just it's a bit too high for my liking. And looking at this here, we would have a breaker block with the highest up close candle, which that seems to be this one. That would be a breaker block. Just noting it as B, breaker block. Keep your focus on that. We would have a breaker block. We would have this now inversion. And we would have this inversion as well. So the stop technically could go up higher, could go below that. Usually I would then target a... Why is this thing... There we go. That's a lot. See, there we go. Target was hit. Unfortunately, no entry to this though. I would go for a... This would be a 1 to 3. If of course we had this entry, which we did not. So that would have been a beautiful setup if we did get that, but it didn't give us that. I would of course be looking for the breaker block entry over here, and then take profit would be 1 to 2 around here somewhere. Let's see. Okay, this 1 hour, this could go over, but I'm now getting rid of this. We could still trade back into this again. 15-minute fair value. We could still trade back into these. So it's messy, but It is what it is. It is honestly what it is. I wouldn't have all these on my trading platform. So my trading platform would still be a clean view of price. I would just have these on my analysis charts, on my analysis monitor. Let's see what it's going to do here. 940. Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens. The buy stops were cleared. We still have buy stops here. Above here, above there. Let's see how it trades here. If we get any rejection in this or in this fair value gap here. We have a whole bunch of inversions, fair value gaps. Let's change the color quickly here because this is really interfering and making stuff quite confusing over here. This one as well though. Let's change that color from red. Let's just do a, can we just do a green one? Yeah. So no rejection as yet. We're inside of what would be the breaker block from low high down to lower low. There's a slight rejection. Nothing yet though. Dollar is trading now lower. Lower, that's good. Good to send us higher. Some retracements on these pairs as well. That right there would be, if I'm trading, that would be my entry to go long right there. So that would be right about somewhere there. And the stop would, if I can get it, the stop would have to be below. We have this fair value gap, that breaker block. This inversion is going to come into play once we trade above that. So my stop for 3 PDRA should be below this fair value gap. Let's see if it's going to run up and give us that. I'll go for a 1 to 2, so that'll be about there. Let's get rid of this 4-hour fair value gap. See if we can get above this high. We now are above this 15-minute. Let's see if we can get this inversion coming into play. See if we can get above this high. See what is dollar doing. Dollar is retracing, rejecting these, which that looks really good. Still pushing higher. Okay, Dow is pushing lower. I don't like that. I don't like to see that. I want to see indices be in sync. Okay, we are above this high. Still pushing up higher, clearing these highs. Now we should now see price really accelerate above these because we have liquidity right above here. So there we go. We got that liquidity. I do want to see it accelerate through that. So at this point in time, I would put my stop at break even, covering costs and commissions. So even if it comes back and I take a hypothetical break even, then I'm not going to lose anything. My fees and commissions would still be covered. I would like to see it reach into this fair value gap as well as go above these buy stops. We're now inside this 1-hour inversion. They're overlapping a little bit, but there you go. That's a bit better. So at this point in time, this is where I would look to take a partial. Just because we did clear these highs. So if you're able to, it's not a bad idea to take a partial. And that would be take profit hit. So there you go. That would be take profit hit. And this would be a, let's see if I can get that. If I can just pull that stop down a little bit. See, that would be I had it for a 1 to 2. So we would have had a 4 handle stop loss for a 33. So that would be about almost 8 handles. 8 handles and maybe 28 handles, 25. 8 handles. Yeah. Run about there. 8 handles and maybe, 8 handles, 1/4. But that would be take profit hit. You can see we traded into those buy stops. That would be what I would have wanted to see, and we tapped into this fair value gap. So you just got to be patient, and you just got to sit through all this, and you have to wait, and you're not missing anything. You just got to wait for things to line up. Wait for things to line up, price to come to your entry, and for you gotta wait for time of day, look for a macro, and you gotta wait for that to come into play, and then you take your execution once all those factors are in. And then we looked at the crosses, and we had US 500 leading, and the Dow was blowing up following it, and the Nasdaq was the sixth sister. And then we finally had dollar tanking. It started tanking down lower. We had this beautiful rejection here, which was nice to see. And we had a reversal at this 1 hour order block over here. This 1 hour order block coupled with this 15-minute fair value gap inside of this daily inversion at the daily inversion 75% level. This is the higher time frame PD array, and we have a confluence of them. We have a 15-minute fair value gap, 1 hour order block with this daily inversion 75%. So that would be the higher time frame confluence, coupled with we have that seasonal tendency for the last week of June to push price higher, and to push specifically to push the futures markets higher, and to push the dollar index down lower. Coupled with that idea, that gives us a low resistance liquidity run, because all those factors come into play. And we had a narrative, the narrative being that we traded into these higher time frame PD arrays. Price was one-sided. We took out the liquidity. We took out all the buyers. We took out these equal lows, rally down, rally down. So during this rally down, everybody is selling into this. So we have liquidity building up above these highs. So they become our targets. So this is a one-sided market then. And then we have a clear target being these equal highs on the 1 minute, coupled with this fair value gap here. This is a market maker buy model. Left side of the curve, right side of the curve. If you were a fair value gap trader, then you would have been looking at this inversion this fair value gap down here. This would be a classic ICT 2020 mentorship. You have one fair value gap, another fair value gap, coupled with a order block down here. Impulse move up, price trading down lower, back into the fair value gap. We have these inversions coupled with that, so that's extra confluences. And we had the breaker block and the inversion, and we had this little rejection. Waited to see if we start getting a reaction, and we did start rallying up higher. That's when I said this is where I would take the entry long. This would be my target, and we had this idea running, so I already knew inversion, fair value gap, breaker block, stop needs to go below here. So that is a 3 PD array stop. ICT talks about this same rule, and he also says that when you're looking to take a trade, you usually would look for 3 PD arrays to come into play. So that is something like a breaker block and a fair value gap, as well as an inversion coming into play before you take an entry. So we had that over here, and we rallied up higher through, and now you can see now we're back at this 4-hour fair value gap. And this would have been a 1 to 2 setup, giving us a beautiful 8 handles to take it home. So if that being said and done, I'm not going to wait for the 950 10 macro to end. We're calling it a day over here. Hopefully you have found this one insightful. Hopefully you have learned something. Until the next one. And before I call it off, we will be, let's just take a quick glance at I'm going to take a glance at the calendar. And for next week, Monday, we have PMI, Monday morning PMI. Tuesday, we have Fed Chair Powell, 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m. JOLTS job openings. So definitely this 9:50 to 10:10 macro on Monday morning is going to be heated. Tuesday, 9:30, 10 a.m., Fed Chair Powell should be a cleaner day. We don't have that much going on. Then at the 8:15, 8:30, 9:45, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday morning. So you definitely got to be done taking any trades Tuesday AM session. You don't want to be trading Tuesday PM because that's going to be the build up for Wednesday AM as well as PM to get that FOMC meeting minutes. We do have PMI as well that morning. I just won't be touching Wednesday. I won't be touching it. It's gonna be a messy AM. It's gonna clean up after PM. And Thursday we have a bank holiday as well. So it's really a crappy week next week, to be really honest. The day before a bank holiday, you want to be careful as well trading that PM. You want to be careful. Lots of money is going to be in the market for that FOMC at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, and then after it's going to die down for a holiday. So Friday is not going to be a trading day The day after a bank holiday generally is it's a good practice to stay out of the marketplace, as all the money would be coming back into that marketplace. And since it is on a Thursday, I believe a lot of the big fish are going to make it a long weekend, and um, they're not going to be present in the marketplace either. So Friday is most likely going to be another messy day. So it seems like Monday is probably going to be might Monday might give a setup, and it might give a setup at 9:30, probably maybe 8:30, maybe before the news comes out, maybe. So I think let's do another session. Um, let's look at Wednesday. Let's do another live session on Wednesday morning. We will start at 8 a.m. and let's see what the day brings us. And we'll keep it streaming until 9:40. Uh, if nothing interesting happens, then we will cut the stream short at 9:30. But if it looks like something is building up around the 9:50, then we will keep on going until 10:10. So until next time, good luck and be safe.